This episode is powered by Safety FM.
This podcast is being sponsored by SafetyConsultantBlueprint.com.
SafetyConsultant.us group is a group that is set up for other people that are safety consultants and those that want to be safety consultants. A resource site that will give you the ideas that you need for growing your business, such as teaching resources, because you got to be a teacher when you're out there. And that's going to be part of your base for growing your clients. Get your chops going. So that we have OSHA compliance topics, including written programs and assessments that you could use for getting your business going. And also, it's a group community of other people that are doing what you're doing as a safety consultant.
Welcome to the Safety Consultant Podcast. I'm your host, Sheldon Primus, and I'd like to thank you for listening to this show. This is the show where I teach you the business of being a safety consultant. This week we've got an excellent show with Miss Linda Tapp. And if you haven't heard of her, where have you been hiding? No, I'm kidding. She's been very influential in the world of safety and health, especially if you have belonged to the American Society of Safety Professionals. I'm sure you've heard her name there. She helped write the book related to the safety consultant, and she's also been part of the safety consultant, I think they call them membership group. I don't know what they call them, I forget, but specialty group, I believe. So she's been part of the safety consultant specialty practice. That's what it's called, and I am a member of the specialty practice, so I should know that. But she has been doing this for a long time. And let's see, she's got 10 years in the safety and health consulting space, more than I do. So I believe she started in 1998, and I was in 2008 is when I started my business. So yeah, just around then. So you'll really get a good fun time. Our audio is a little sketchy, unfortunately. I've been having some audio issues lately, so please forgive me. I think I've nailed it down. So the same audio that you're getting now, that you're hearing me doing this introduction, hopefully the next shows will be coming out a lot better. But if you go to safetyfundamentals.com, you'll find Linda's website. And in this interview, we talk about how she became a consultant. We also talked about a few of the things that she has done as an author, and she does products, and she's really good, just a foundation of understanding on how safety consultant works. And she's even a trendsetter. She started podcasting, I think she said like 2007 in this interview. She was doing a safety podcast that may still actually be living in the iTunes world already. That'd be awesome to hear. And she truly has done a bunch of things. So we even talk about time management. We talked about her time overseas. We've talked about the different products that she's developed. We talked about how she was able to be a single source for one of her clients because she had a book. And she gave me some of her tips. If you get stuck, as far as I do, I write a lot, so sometimes I get a little stuck in writer's block. She even talked a little bit about how she got over writer's block and gets over writer's block. She says, stay on task and just make sure you do something every day, which is awesome. Great practical advice. So it was fun. We talked about her self-publishing and having her own distribution channel for her products. She talked about pricing strategies and frustrations that she had along the way, as well as some triumphs. And so therefore, I think you're going to have a real fun time with this interview like I did. And without any further ado, let's listen to Linda Tapp.
My name is Linda Tapp, and my company right now is Safety FUN-damentals, and that was a spin-off of my first consulting firm, which was Crown Safety, which I started in 1998. And I was kind of doing both things for a while, and then I decided to focus all my time on the safety fundamentals part, which is more product development and safety training. So that's what I do now.
Excellent. And I love the idea that you have, especially with the safety fundamental side and all the cool stuff that you have for the consultants and trainers to help us get out of our funk and rut and be creative and different.
Yeah. Yeah, I think when I had a consulting project that was a 3-day safety supervisory leadership course, and that's a long time to talk to a bunch of supervisors who don't want to hear about safety. And it was a very touchy-feely course, like filled with a lot of things like communication skills and how to give feedback, and trying to find a way to make that interesting was what first led me to try out activities and training classes. So once I got really into it and figured out what was possible, and then saw how much people reacted to actually being able to do stuff in their training classes, that was really the push that got me to go really, really deep in it and just start sharing all those activities and all that knowledge with other people, because it's been out there a long time. Just it hasn't really crossed into safety a ton. Like most safety people don't have time to look outside, all the safety stuff to see what other industries are doing. So it's really been fun. It's been a great experience. I've had tons of people, tell me how they use it in their classes, and even if one person remembers, something more or pays attention more, then it's worth it in the end.
Yeah, and it's truly like one of those things. I started basically for me as an adjunct instructor for water and wastewater for Florida Gateway College for a little while, and I had to capture everyone's attention as quickly as I could. Learning adults or working with adults, and we were going through this online class, and I had to find different ways of doing it, and YouTube was just coming out at the time, so I was doing a lot of my lessons that way to try to keep their attention. And later on I became an adjunct instructor for Florida State College in Jacksonville, and truly again, this time was doing all the OSHA OTI stuff, so I have to do it in person. And after a while, you can see the glaze over their eyes.
Yeah, it is. It's really hard. And I think so many safety people are just told to go do training too. Like you go anywhere, you're the safety person. Okay, go do training, and you really have no idea like how to get that information across so people pay attention and actually listen. And I've seen that much more often than actually having someone develop proper training materials for them and saying, okay, you deliver it. Someone else does it for you. The safety people that I run into usually have to do everything from create it to deliver it, and it's hard. It's not an easy thing to do.
Yeah, and for you, since you're an author as well, doing all these other things, when do you get time to write and try to have to get over writer's block? I don't know if you have deadlines, because when my deadlines come, sometimes I get my biggest writer's block and cramps. But
yeah.
So what do you do to get through those moments?
That's a good idea. I make myself do something every day, and I was told a long time ago, actually at a marketing seminar, that something is better than nothing. So it's kind of what I live by. If I have 5 minutes, I'll do something for 5 minutes. I don't think, all right, I don't have 2 hours to sit and write right now, I can't start. So if I have any little blocks of time and I can get something done, I usually try to fill that with doing something valuable or something that I can cross off my list. I have a lot of stuff written that is just kind of sitting there right now that I don't finish up until I need it. As far as the books that I have, that's ongoing process. Usually that takes a while, then all of a sudden I'll just kick myself in the butt. Okay, I have to get this done, because working for yourself too, I don't have the strict deadlines that someone watching over me saying get this done. I am writing a book right now for ASSP that I have a deadline. It's November for the draft, which is a hunk of work. So that I really have to stay on top of myself and say, okay, I'm going to write so many thousand words a week and make myself focus. But yeah, it's really hard. I love writing, so that's a big plus. So that's not a hard thing for me to do, at all. It's just not going down the rabbit hole of what I'm writing books too. Like for the one for ASSP, you start to see one bit of research that's interesting that you want to include, and then that leads somewhere else, and that leads somewhere else. So that's the bigger risk for me is not getting too diverted and just staying on task.
Wow, so for doing that and then having your clients and everything else, and your family, how do you juggle your time?
Yeah, people ask that all the time. I think like a lot of consultants, I wouldn't say I work 24/7, but I definitely don't have a normal 9-to-5 life, and that works for me. It doesn't work for everybody. I might work a few hours in the morning, and then I might work from 6 to 10 at night. So it just it all depends how it fits in with the rest of my schedule. I spend a lot of time outdoors. Even probably 6 months of the year, I'm working outdoors. I have a standing desk outside, which is kind of interesting. Like, I just love being outside, and I'm much more productive. So I just really I do what I have to get done, when the time is available for it and when the blocks are there. And I've always done that. I started consulting in 1998 when my second child was born, because my employer, who was a large pharmaceutical, was not having any flexibility whatsoever. And I did a little bit of consulting before that, kind of started to do it as well. I had moved to London with my husband and didn't know a soul. And before I went over there, I had met a ASSP member at a networking function at the PDC, and just happened to mention to him I was moving, overseas, didn't know anybody, I was going to quit my job and had to start. I said, give me your business card, I might know some people. So we exchanged cards. I didn't think much of it. He walked away, and then I saw the name of his card, and he was vice president of this pharmaceutical company, like worldwide.
Wow.
So once I got there, I had 6 of his plants called me to consult for them. So that was kind of a kickoff into consulting, all because of this random meeting at a networking reception at a conference. And that was, I think, that was 1994, I think, was when I had met him and went over there. And I came back, and my employer wasn't flexible. I thought, I really enjoy consulting over there. I'm gonna stay and just do this myself. So, but even with small kids, you definitely do that. Like, you're working 12 to 4, in the morning because they're sleeping then, and you just kind of work around when the time's available.
Yeah, that's awesome. I often tell people you have to remember your why in this business. Get that, and the days come long and they're hard, and you can't, get the client you need, or you can't get the work you want, and then you want to give up. You got to keep remembering that why. So you got a very strong why.
They have to keep doing it, and that's why I think I kind of spun off from the Crown Safety was the original consulting firm, and I was traveling a lot, doing a lot of on-site stuff, and then, after the London move, our family also moved to Munich and then to Amsterdam, and doing all these moves, it's really hard to continue to consult in countries, especially where English isn't the first language. So I really started doing a lot more of the product development then, and I speak to a lot of groups about how to have products and why you should have a product, because the whole multiple streams of income is really key, especially as a consultant. People, stop working because they have kids, or they have a sick parent, or they have an accident, or, you follow your spouse around the world, and you have to have another line of income coming in, and that's what the products can do for you. You don't have to be there physically. You can do them anywhere. It's like online income. So that's what I really kind of try to encourage, like, everybody. It's like, you might not need it now. You don't want to start writing a book to have online when you're sick. Like, you want to have something ready to go when you need it. So I think the product part is really key, and I love that part of it, which is why I focus most of my time on that now.
That is so key, because truly there are the ups and downs, as you know, as a consultant.
Yep. All your business isn't busy, right? That's when you can write your stuff.
Yep. And that really helps.
Yep.
It really helps, and it's a great principle to keep you in it, because truly the longer you stay at it, the easier it becomes in some ways, with your clients keep coming back to you and calling you, and once you come back, you have to be around for that, so those products will help you with that.
Yeah, and actually the product, so I don't know if it's true or not, but I had a big consulting job for a federal government agency, and government jobs often have to go out for multiple bids for consultants. I was doing that for a few years, and actually my contact there said to me, if you have a book, we can single source you. You won't have to go out for bids. So that was a big thing for me to go quickly get this book done, because they can justify not having to go out for multiple bids. You'll have some low bidder come in and, steal the work from you that's, not a quality consultant. So that was a really big push for me to get the first one done as well. And it was true once I had this book. The work was basically mine year after year. So that's another really good reason to have one.
Yeah, and for you, do you self-publish or do you have a publisher?
I self-publish. I have a separate publishing company that I set up for the first one. So, I have everything through there. So, I really like figuring out stuff myself too. So I do the barcodes. I have the ISBN numbers. I upload everything. I have the distribution channel. So that's been a really good learning experience that I'm happy to tell anybody else about. Like when I meet with other people, they're like, "Oh, it's so hard. I can't do this." Like you can do that. The online ones are pretty easy, but the print ones are not bad at all. And even just having 50 copies of a print version to use as marketing material as well is a great idea for consultants.
Oh, that's a good idea. I only have the ebooks. I've never done the print yet. My brother has 2 print books, but I wanted to do the print, but I only did the ebook one.
Yeah, there's actually, he's in Florida. My printer's in Florida. He's a great printer who will do a minimum of like 50 books for me when I need something like really small. So instead of me ordering 1,000 books and having them sit in the garage and, not sell if it's a bad book for some reason, they can do 50 at a time, so it's a lot more manageable. But yeah, I can hook you up with my printer if you want my person who's printed my books for me. I mean, every book I've had, my printer in Florida has done.
Sold.
Yeah, good. He's a good one.
Yeah. When you're out in Amsterdam, is that why you have your in your LinkedIn say that you speak Spanish and Dutch some proficient?
Yeah, it is. It's funny, and I've had a ton of Spanish, and I keep trying to improve my Spanish, especially where I live up here. This area, it's Spanish everywhere, so it's kind of key. And a lot of the more recent written products that I have, I always try to include either instructions in Spanish or do a lot of it in both languages because that's such a huge part of the people that are using it. So the Dutch, unfortunately, I'm not getting much use of my Dutch at all. It's like I thought I go to Aruba at my town.
There you go.
In Amsterdam, I had so many lessons and so many hours there, and I was fine while I'm there, and I can still, get by fine. But I think I call it my smutch. It's kind of a half combo of Spanish and Dutch. You start talking, it comes out of mixed languages. But I wish I had more chance to use that. But Spanish is definitely a much more useful language to have than Dutch.
Well, I started my Duolingo with French. I took French and then Spanish now. So my sister speaks fluent Spanish and German, so she's helping me with Spanish.
Yeah, that's good.
I'm doing this.
That's good. You can do it.
Yeah, the Duolingo is really good. Have you tried that one yet?
Tried it a while ago. It had like Michael Thomas has these CDs that I like, which now I don't have anything that plays a CD anymore, but that's how before I even went over, I went through like hours and hours of these CDs, and then in-person lessons and everything else. I've tried everything, but now with Spanish, I just try to read it. I have an ASSP friend who will write to me in Spanish. I'll write back to them in Spanish because it makes me figure everything out. Because if you don't use it, it goes.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
Nice. It's funny because when you say CD being almost obsolete, I went to a client yesterday and I needed to get something, so I brought my drive with me, and she had to look all around to if there was a thumb drive anywhere in the building. Carrying a floppy here, it's like, we don't even have this anymore almost. So I was like, wow, technology is going crazy.
Yep.
So for being as long, and you got 10 years on me in the consulting business, so give me some of your lessons learned, and maybe even one of those, I don't know, anything. I don't want to go into like your worst lesson, your worst client, or anything like that unless you want to, but some of your lessons learned, good and bad, if you don't mind.
No, actually, I just wanted to story, which maybe I shouldn't share. I'll tell you that one. Probably the biggest lesson, I'm sure you've seen this, is just because you want to do something, it doesn't mean that others are going to want it. And I've learned that I'll get a great idea and think this is the best thing, and I'm going to put this together, and it might just interest me. And sometimes I get these ideas that I think are too far out there, or the way things are right now. Safety tends to be not always on the forefront of new technology and new way things are done. I was talking. I saw something the other day. I did a a webinar for ASSP a long time ago on Web 2.0, which was podcasts and RSS feeds and all this stuff, and Twitter even, and people thought I was insane. Like, this will never happen. No one will ever use these things. And it was forever. I just pulled up. I laughed. Like, I tried to do a podcast in 2007. I think it's actually still on iTunes. It's called Safety Podcast. In 2007, I started something, and people were like, "What are you doing?" Like, it was just way ahead of it than I should have tried. I thought, "Oh, it's pretty fun," but it was really a waste of time in the end, because it was way too soon to try to put that out there for a lot of people. So I always have to ask myself, I might think this is going to be great, and then, all right, well, people do they actually want this, or do they need this? So that's my biggest lesson, I think, is know that you don't waste your time unless you just want to do it for a fun project, but it might not ever lead anywhere. The second thing, one of the big mistakes I made early on was that I rented office space, and then I thought kind of how to have that. Maybe it's better now, but I think now about this office space I had, and I was never there. Ever. I was either always traveling. Why was I paying rent? Why was I, why did I do this? But I thought I can't use my home address for my address. I have to have a proper address, or I didn't want a P.O. box either. I had this in my head for some reason that, I had to have an office too. So I probably kept that office 5 years, and I regret that. So that's one of my biggest mistakes that I had then. Worst clients, I'm trying to worst clients.
Yeah, well, that comes up. I could tell you on the mind while you're thinking. I had this one, and I had a feeling about her and her company, and it was a small company. I didn't mind. I was doing a favor for a safety association that they said, hey, they need some help with written programs, and I get a mix of people where they're either compliance or their culture. So this is a client-driven, a compliance-driven client, and I just had a feeling about it. But I got the work done, and I even had a contract, and it took forever for her to pay, and I just felt so used to like hound her over money, and it just felt so dirty after a while to keep hounding over that. I knew it going in. Something warned me, and I just didn't listen to myself. So that drove me nuts. And then I after that, I figured, all right, if I have that feeling again, just stick with it. That was my word.
You made me think of one of mine, because it was money related as well too. When I had first started consulting, one of the ways that I would find a consulting job was to look at the one ads, and I would send a letter saying, basically, you don't need to hire somebody full time. I can do this for you as a consultant, which worked several times. So I ended up with a consulting job with a construction company that did excavation work, and my whole job was once a week to go through their list of job sites and make random drop-in inspections of these excavation sites, which was a job in itself. I was trying to find these guys in the middle of nowhere. It was free GPS and free everything else. It was not easy, but it did came back to payment. And I had heard construction companies will pay the consultants last, and it was an ongoing battle. I mean, it was month after month after month of trying to be collection agent, and just constantly fighting. Not that they weren't going to pay, there just wasn't any money left at the end of every month to pay the consultant. So, I think I did that for a year, and then I finally was like, same thing. Like, I've had enough. I can't. It's not worth all my time trying to collect money, and moved on from that. So. And I don't know if that's general in the construction industry, because I don't do a lot of construction work, maybe because it's that experience, but that was one of the worst, just trying to get paid. The government work, I like the government work, as you mentioned, but I did get, a couple times where they say they take the lowest bidder, and I know I was the lowest bidder, and one time I was actually told to my face that you're a female, so we're not picking you. So that one comes to mind. It's like, yeah, we need guys to work with these guys, and no, you can't do it. So, you could go through the whole thing and make a big stink, especially with government, but it's just, for me, wasn't worth the time. I can sit and I can be angry and then move on. So that was another one.
Yep, and then you're truly going to be there, and when you get there, it's going to be one of those things where you're going to wish that you didn't take the client, and then it's going to be a confrontational event, and then it's not fun anymore. I do this for fun.
No, I know. So you have to learn, you say, no, you should fight that. Like, no, for me, it's not worth the fight it.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, for you, was there a pivot point when you got to meeting the client versus being able to choose your client? Was there like a period of time where you're able to pivot out of that and say, all right, I could be a little bit more choosy about who I pick?
That's a good question. I think, honestly, I was probably, I took a lot of work, like you're saying in the beginning. I'd go after all these one ads, and I would travel everywhere for anybody and do anything. I don't know when the actual point was. Maybe after I had done, I had some long-term projects, and that's probably what helped me be able to do that. The one, a different federal agency, the Philadelphia Mint had a huge problem. Like, I started there the week after 9/11, and they actually were shut down because they had so many problems, like so many OSHA problems. It was in the newspaper, and like they actually closed the plant for like 2 months. So they closed the whole manufacturing facility because they had never had an inspection, and people got in there and were like, "Hey, you have nothing in place." So they brought in 12 consultants. And I think 10 of them were from one firm. I was a sub to the other firm because they just needed bodies. And I always tell the story. We went in there were 700 employees, and they had to have training on absolutely everything. So the safety manager would hand me the SOP and say, okay, go to the training room and read it to them. And that was training for the day. So besides being horrible, I was there 7 days a week, probably 6 to 10 months. And then they said, okay, we need less consultants. So they let 6 of them go. Then they let 3 more go. And at the end, there was just me. So I stayed there probably another 2 years. Like, it was a long time gig. And it went from probably 7 days a week down to 5 days and 3 days. And I think once I had that steady, income, I was a lot more picky because you didn't, you weren't going to be scrambling, and you had these contracts. At the same time, I had probably 2 or 3 other long-term contracts that weren't ongoing, a day a week or 2 days a week kind of thing. And then once you have that comfort level, you don't have to be running around chasing contractors and excavation sites. So, yeah, that was probably the limit. Once you get the long-term ones, which obviously are great for a lot of reasons.
Yep. And it gives you the flexibility that you really need. But then there came a point, I guess, where for me, I don't know for you, but I had just an idea, especially one of my businesses I work with, I work with a man named Kevin Yarbrough, and he's ex-OSHA. And Kevin and I were together, and he retired as the assistant area director of Tampa, but he did all the positions up to area director. And for a little while, I'm not going to go down on our prices for some of these things. It's just really not worth it to us, and we have to come to grips with some people just can't afford us. And
right.
And you've got that feeling before. You have that just a drive where you're like, I'm just not going to go down to those prices and rates. Let the lowest bidder have it.
Yeah, I think especially now that, if they only want to pay nothing, they're probably not really serious about safety to begin with. You get to a point where you want to look for the better clients. And that's a nice position to be in. You can't always do that, especially when you're starting out. And I've never been one to lower my prices. People will ask, and I don't do hourly rates anyway. Everything I do is project based. I'm a big fan of Alan Weiss. I don't know if you've ever read his stuff, but I always give generally 3 levels of pricing. You can pick if you want the silver, gold, or bronze level kind of service kind of thing. So it's like, I don't want to pay this much. Okay, well, what do you want to take out? Let's look it down to this level. So that's worked really well for me. People almost never take the lowest level. I'll either go the medium or the highest level, but I won't lower. I'll just say just take something out of there and see what will work for what you want to pay.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
And I remember that conversation that kind of got started on the Facebook group that we belong to together, where someone was asking about pricing and giving discounts. And truly, I tell people, if you are going to start off that way, then you're setting an expectation with your client. So it's going to be hard for you to raise rates after that. So you may have to at first, just because that's whatever client you're attracting. You may actually only have that budget for the lower bid. later on, when you start attracting higher, I would say, clients that are willing to pay for those type of services, then truly you should meet their expectation. Let's say it that way.
Mm-hmm. That's true. That's true.
Yeah, so, and I remember in that same conversation, you kind of chimed up in that thread, just truly about not giving discounts, and then also, I think it's the vein of what you just said, was truly giving a tour. And there's another aspect of that you do when it comes to pricing, because that's one of the big things that people ask me about, is how do you price your service?
Yeah, I think that's really hard, and I found it also is it's really depends on where you are in the country as well. You know, I know up here everything costs a ton more than other parts of the country. Like if we were in Arkansas, you'd get stuff a lot cheaper. Everything here is so high, and I haven't had a lot of people when I've done the tiers. I haven't had people come down usually say, okay, what are we going to get for this? And I don't like to watch per minute and per hour. I'm very happy. If I give them a price and they accept it, then I feel good about it, and hopefully they feel good about it. And I'm happy to work and, do whatever I need to do to give them the best thing that I can for that price. So once the price part's settled, it's a lot of the stress part's gone, and I think you have to have an idea of what you're worth. And, there's a discussion online a bunch how consultants can't discuss pricing with each other. So it's really hard to get that information, from other people. Like, well, how are you supposed to know? You hopefully can find some, clients, maybe people who hire consultants to tell you, what they're used to paying or what they think would be a fair price. But it gets a little tricky when you start asking other consultants. You have to worry about all the price fixing and stuff like that people talk about.
Yeah, and that's true. I've gone back and forth with that, but I've been very transparent with things that I've priced. And then there's something government clients, like, sometimes I can't, and I know for sure for contract for all the people that I do have SME for, when I write their courses, I'm under contract where I can't say that, but whenever I can, then truly I try to set that. My thought is, just like every other field, the consultants, we have to kind of help each other where we raise the bar for each other, and that should be the same thing where if you're seeing a lot of low bidders and undercutting and everything, there should be a reverse stigma, a negative stigma related to that, because everyone knows that market level price should be at this certain level for where we live and for the type of work we're doing, the NAICS code for the people you're working with, and the hazard rates. There should be something like that that'll let you know, you should expect to pay this much for a reputable company.
Yeah, that's good.
The other side, I know you've got wealth of experience, and you spent a bulk of your time with the board of certified safety professionals. So tell me about that experience and what you learned with that.
That was interesting. I gotta say, that was I was on that board for 6 years. Now I'm currently the chair for the ASSP Foundation, and I roll off of there in June. So it's kind of I didn't go from that board to this board, but the BCSP, I was the treasurer, so I dealt with a lot of the finance stuff, and the foundation's all about money. So it was a good training ground for me to move to my current foundation volunteer job in there. But the BCSP, it's a lot different than when I was on it now, but when I did do that position, BCSP used to have a newsletter that would come out and say, if anyone's interested in being on the board, send your resume in. And I was young, I was female, and I thought, what the heck, I'm sending it in. So I could not believe it when Roger Brower called me and said, hey, we want to invite you to the board. I was like, wow, how does this happen? So I just kind of throw my name in there myself. Like, a lot of times, a friend or someone on the board will put your name forward and say, we should take this person. That's unfortunately how a lot of things work sometimes. But I threw myself in there, and I got to my first board meeting, and it was 11 guys and me, and I walked in, no one said hi. It was kind of like, what do we do with her? She's here. I was really young. I think I was their youngest board member at the time. They've had younger ones since then too, but it was I probably was starstruck too because Roger Brower wrote, the textbooks that I had studied for my CSP exam. So I was kind of like, wow, this is people. I read their textbooks. So it was a great experience. I made, some really amazing contacts. I was on the board with some really big name people in the safety profession. So I got to, work with some great people. While I was on that board as well. We used to have our BCSP used to have a joint certification with ADIH, so I got to work with ADIH, through this third body that used to do the SPS. I don't know if you know the SPS is, Safety Trained Supervisor, and the CHSP, the Construction Health and Safety Technologists, were the ones they used to do together. So I got to really work outside of BCSP and also work with the ADIH people, and then at the third board, which was called CTEST at the time, and BCSP ended up taking over that third group, so now it's all one part of one big thing. But it was really good. It was really good contacts, like I said, again, for a consultant. To be part of those boards and those volunteer work is, I think, really key. And I mentioned the foundation. I tell the story, people look at me kind of funny when I say this, but the first time I donated to the foundation, I got invited to the foundation VIP reception at the conference one year. And I was a brand new consultant, and I went there, and I was literally blown away by who else was in that room. Like, anybody I ever wanted to meet in safety was in that room. So I started telling consultants, like, you need to make a donation so you can get invited to this. So people were like, you weren't donating out of the goodness of your heart. Like, well, I was, but consultants, like, this is like a secret place where you should, if you want to meet anybody that's, high-level company people, high-level in the safety world, they're all at this reception because they're donors. So that was really key. So I started giving every year, and found myself as a trustee now I'm this year. So it's been a really great experience dealing with the whole scholarship and grant part of it. And again, you get to meet so many people and so many students. And that's been really rewarding.
Excellent. And for those that don't know, I forgot to mention, Linda is in the greater New York City area and Newark, New Jersey area. So when she mentions her area and her market, that's an idea of where she is.
Yeah.
And I always tell people, I get the question a lot. I'm a COSS, Certified Occupational Safety Specialist, and COSS-M, which is a Certificate of Occupational Safety Manager. And for those two courses that people go to, they test and they become, they get the designation, pass their test and pass on the curriculum that they need to. But I always hear people kind of pin designations against each other, like the Crips and the Bloods,
Yeah.
It really drives me nuts because I truly believe that there's a certification for everyone. And I know BCSP has got the lion's share of recognition for CSP, which is, great. And people can get that, and they work their heart out to pass the ASSP and CSP tests. And, oh man, I kicked myself because I got into safety in '94, and after I got into safety, I was thinking about taking the CSP once I got my bachelor's degree before I did my master's, like in between the two. And I was going to do it. They didn't have an ASP at the time, and I just got too busy with work, and I never did it. And then they created the ASP, and I'm like kicking myself thinking, man, I missed it. I should have got in before the ASP. But
You do it.
Yeah, so for you, what do you feel, what's your suggestion for someone who's starting into consulting and they may not have a designation? I always say school first. Get if you are coming through the school route, your 4-year degree, your master's degree speaks volumes over everything else. And then after that is designation and then certificate. What do you feel? What's your experience?
Yeah, I think that's a really tough one, and that comes up a lot because I've had, I do a lot with the scholarship recipients, and, as foundation chair, I get to go to the Teacher Safety Leaders Conference. So all these college seniors and grad students are there, and they always ask, what should I do first? Should I get, another degree, or should I get a certification? And I think it really depends on what you're looking to do. I think as much as we like to think that people need certifications, they don't always. And I might be shot down for saying that. And, when I was on BCSP's board, there was a big push to get employers to require a certification, to be more recognized. But It depends on the employer. I think a bunch of employers probably still have no idea what the safety certifications stand for. And they would probably want to see the degree or even just certificates when they're first starting out of school. It would be nice if they said you have to have a certification so everyone has the same level of knowledge or the same background knowledge. But I personally don't know if right out of school, if that's going to make a big difference if someone gets a job or not. And I think BCSP probably has data that says otherwise. They have the stats that say how much more people make with certifications. But I hear that a lot. And I also hear a lot of people say, is it worth it for me to get my PhD or should I get my master's? And again, I think it's what kind of job you're looking to get into. I think a lot of safety jobs don't need that level right away. It depends what kind of safety position you want to go for eventually. And, I do tell these students, even with the certification exams, that, the faster you can do it, the better. Because like you're saying, if you wait too long, it's really hard to go back and start studying again. Go back and get the other degrees. Like, if you're in that study mode from being a student, it's so much better to do it as soon as you can, just because it's going to be much harder when you have a family at home and you're traveling a lot for work or whatever other obligations that you have.
It's
I know. It's tough. It's like, how am I going to do this now? But it's hard. I think now that when I took the CSP, that was the capstone. You had CSP and you were set. And I think the trend also now is to take a lot more certifications. You've probably seen that as well. People will put 20 letters after their name. And I kind of think, it's like you kind of like, like before it was like, okay, CSP, you're good. That's all you need to do. Everything. I think that's a trend is to keep, adding it. And I don't know if it's leading to confusion. If employers look at that, like, what is all this, alphabet soup, or if it makes people look more desirable. I personally don't know, but that's what I've been seeing lately.
Oh, that's great. Now, for you've done so much in the industry, especially with your volunteering, spending time, your books that you've written, all your books that you've written. And I know you have an international flair for the ISO 45001 and 45001 is right? I just went blank. So, because I was trying to mix the old OSAS system, the 3001 with ISO 45001. My mind just went, Do you feel, as far as the U.S.-based market for consulting versus some of the other markets throughout the world, how do you think we rank as far as what we do and what other consultants do with the world and the global view of safety? Is it fair to ask you?
I can only really talk about when I was in the countries that I have lived in. When I was in London, which was a while ago, it was not that dissimilar from here. The rates were a whole lot lower. like I'd say a quarter of the rates that people got here when I was in London. So that was so different. In the Netherlands, people didn't use consultants as much. They went through their insurance companies for a lot of things. So it wasn't the same environment at all. But if the Netherlands, they kind of do their own thing anyway. The whole idea of a lot of rules and things, it's a whole different world if you live there. So I didn't see the consulting business / industry there, in the least. In Germany, I think they're a little bit more like us as well. I didn't try anything there at all because my German is nothing. It's not even. I mean, I'm barely into the word in German. And that was pre-Netherlands, and Dutch is very close, but I didn't even try there. I was just working on products while I was there, which was the safest thing for me to do.
I know you have the experience right now where you get to talk to all these different professionals throughout different segments of the world and get a little bit of idea of how safety and health is growing and changing. And the things that's been changing a lot is behavioral-based safety, transitioning to some more people thinking about human performance, and then you have the new view of safety, which is a facet of HOP. And Sidney Decker's group and James Reason. And for you, how does all that kind of stack up with not only your learning of safety and health and in your influence as an influencer yourself? Is there any of that stuff that you're starting to trend to? Or are you on the Aubrey Daniels side with the BDS, or where are you?
I dabbled in the BDS stuff before I even moved abroad for the first time. So in the early 90s, I got into the BDS stuff, and really haven't done much of it since then. And I still see a lot of people doing the BDS stuff myself right now. People are looking a whole lot more into into the buzzwords, like everything is green and sustainability, which is great. Human capital, which is key. People are starting to realize, a little bit more to the bigger picture. It's not just safety issues; it's more global. I've seen that a bit, and I focus mostly on the training part of it. People really push the technology, and everything that comes across my desk is, the augmented reality and the virtual reality, and what you're going to do to put that all up there. And I still do mostly classroom stuff, and I hear from a lot of people that stuff's really great, and I think you can do both, and you have to have both. I think safety's not always on the forefront of a lot of things, and it's just because you want to do it doesn't mean you should do it. It doesn't mean that the audience is ready, and it comes for the individual workplaces as well. And you might think, oh, well, we need to do virtual reality. This is awesome, but it might not be the right thing for your workplace if people aren't super into tech, or if you don't have the right environment and you don't have the right budget for that, and and everything else. So I think there's a lot of buzz right now in everything tech. But it's not always the right thing, or at least not the right thing yet for a lot of our workplaces.
So you're at the area where basically you have to go in, you have to analyze where the client is, what will suit their needs, and give them some hint as to what you think will get them to the next phase, the next step. But you still have to be flexible enough to listen to and be aware of what truly you think will be sustainable for them when you go.
Yeah, I think just saying go in and look at what they need as well. I think a lot of people think that we have to do training, our employees are this, we have accidents, and training is the answer a lot of the time. Probably, I'd say less than a quarter of the time, training is actually the answer. And that's weird for a training person to say, but it's the truth. You don't want to waste their time throwing something in there and then not having that be what's going to make the problem go away or the problem get better. So you're saying going there and seeing what they need. They might think, oh, we're just going to put in a bunch of, like I said, CDs again, a bunch of CD-ROMs and get them all trained up on this. And it doesn't work that way.
That's a good thought. For my listeners, a lot of them are going to be either new safety consultants or some that are out there and they just want to spice it up a little and get some more ideas for running their business. So what kind of tips would you have for both segments? Maybe the newbie and then someone who's in it for a while.
Who's just been doing it. Probably back to what I started with, saying the multiple streams, with the products. Like, everything's really, our whole world is topsy-turvy right now. If you just put on the news, who knows what's going to happen going forward. There's not a ton of enforcement and regulations, and I don't know what's going to happen to the ones that we do have. So you need a backup plan. Anything could happen. And just having some kind of product is something really nice. Even if you don't need it right now, everyone should be working on some kind of product and figuring out how to get it online, how to get it to download. So a long time ago, I did a presentation called Make Money While You Sleep. That truly is that. You can wake up in the morning, you can check your account and see that you sold 5 things overnight, and you have money that you didn't have when you went to bed. So it's a great feeling to have it, but I'd say new people especially, because jobs can be far and few between if you're just starting out, and if you're older and looking to I know a lot of older consultants are like, oh, if I get work, fine. If I don't, that's fine too. Like it's a good thing to have. And people are like, I can't write a book. Anybody can write a book on anything. When you start going through your hard drive, people can probably find 100 things that they could write a book on. There's all kinds of ways. I did the marketing chapter for the consultant handbook that ASSP put out, and a whole bunch of the details are in there on how you go about getting people interested first, and then getting them to actually click through and buy your product, and how you follow through, and just the whole process that goes with that. But it's something I think really important for everybody, because you don't know what's going to happen. Besides just moving, almost 8 years ago, I had an accident where a tree fell on top of me, which people kind of laughed at it, but I was out of commission for a while. And you're out of commission, you can't be doing your normal work, but having the products, I could do while I couldn't do a lot of other things. I could still write new stuff, but also it brings in income. When you can't do anything, and something like that could happen overnight, like you have no idea what's going to happen the next day. So having the backup is key.
Yeah. Tree falling on you just out of the blue. Was there a weather event?
No weather. I was sitting by a pool in Costa Rica, a hotel that was actually in the rainforest, and a 42-foot tree just fell on top of me. So, people say, you can prevent all accidents. Well, okay, how are you going to prevent that one? I don't know. That's right. It was, 4 days in the Costa Rican hospital, emergency surgery, and, a whole bunch of other, a year and a half occupational therapy afterwards to get my hand moving again. But, stuff happens, like, out of the blue, right? So, as you're saying, you have to be prepared. It was one of those, people are like, oh, you prevent all accidents. Well, what are you going to do about this one?
Yeah, where's the leading indicator for that one?
What are you supposed to do? Especially my family was with me, and my kids, they have safety children, their head constantly like, they should inspect all the trees. It's like there's thousands of trees. And it wasn't wet ground, it wasn't windy, it wasn't any reason at all. Apparently this tree was just time for it to fall over. And I decided to try to catch it. That was the key part. But I didn't get out of the way. I had to stop it with my hands because I'm a superwoman. But everybody else kind of, obviously, that's why. Because when you're a parent, your 3 kids are there with you. Your idea is not to get out of the way and to stop the tree. So that's kind of the background behind the whole tree story. But the product, see the kids and catch the tree. But products really did make a big difference at that time.
Cool. Well, before I let you go, and I want you to plug any and everything you have, why don't you tell me, like, what's playing in your actual, when you go into your car and you turn it on, what music is on right now? What are we hearing?
You would not be hearing any music. You'd be hearing an audiobook, because I listen to audiobooks all the time when I'm not doing something else.
Excellent, man. I really appreciate you talking to me, Linda. It's just we've been in the same circles, but I know. Or talk to you, so this has really been a privilege for me to get to talk to you. I consider you as being a mentor by far. I like looking at what you do.
Thank you.
And
thanks for the opportunity.
You're awesome for the community. I mean, you are truly something that everyone, especially safety consultants, can aspire to be.
Oh, thanks. And if I can help anyone with their product development, I can give you all my resources, my printers, my websites, and everything else you could need. So just let me know.
Well, right now, plug anything that you have. I know you got a new book that you're currently writing, but you've got 7 other books.
At least I think.
Yeah. So and Safety FUN-damentals too. So go ahead and plug away, please.
You'll see what I have right now. I just sent off to the printer an updated hazard hunt book, and that was the first one I did was 2009. So that's been updated and revised. I'm working through a gamification certification as well. I finished level 2 2 weeks ago. The third one is actually an intensive week course in June I'll be going to. So the new hazard hunt book has the game I had to submit for my level 2 certification included in it, which goes along with the book. So that's kind of cool, but that just went to the printer 2 days ago. And the one I'm doing for ASSP, which the draft is due in November, is called Making Your Training Stick, and it's all based on retention because we all do so much training and a lot of it's forgotten. And the book is, I think, 30 chapters on how to get people to remember what you tell them in safety training classes. So that's the 2 big projects right now. And I think that's it. I am really very open to helping anyone who needs help to get the book, because it's one thing I do feel passionate about, is having people have a backup plan. So please let me know. My main domain is safetyfundamentals.com. That's where everything is. There's a blog on there, and my contact information is on there.
I signed up, so you'll see my name there, and I even signed up as a member too, so you'll see me.
Awesome. Very good.
Well, thank you. You have a wonderful day.
Thank you. You too.
Don't go away. Hang out for the tip of the week right after this.
Do you feel that your knowledge would be better served if you were your own boss? Your knowledge can help more people improve their workplace safety. Most of what you know may be wasting in a job that limits what you can do for the overall health and safety of workers. Now is the time to start your own business while you're still working for your current employer. Start your own safety consultant business with the Safety Consultant Blueprint course. Get your business legal in just a week. Brand yourself as an authority in safety, even on a shoestring budget. No more stressing about how to price your services fairly, but still make a profit. And experience the amazing feeling of being your own boss. This 100% online video course is instructor-led and will give you detailed steps to keep you focused as to what to do next to grow your business. Lay out strategies to keep you maximizing your marketing and networking efforts. And explain how to get money in between clients. Register today at safetyconsultantblueprint.com and enter the code PODCAST.
Welcome back to the podcast. Wasn't that excellent talking to Linda? She just, I just told her, I want to be you when I grow up. It was just awesome. I had a great time. It was a fun interview. And next time I'm in New York, I'm going to look her up so I could see if maybe we could do lunch or something together. So that's a great thing. For you that are listening to me, maybe for the first time, or you've been listening to me for a little while, if you hadn't had a chance yet, I would ask you please to subscribe to this podcast. So whatever service you're listening to, hit the subscribe button and subscribe to this podcast. And you can also share it with a friend, which is great. I love when people tell me, hey, someone turned me onto your podcast and I loved it. It's awesome. So that's also good for me. So please go ahead and share this with a friend. And if you have a chance to, leave me an iTunes review or whatever service you're listening to. That'd be awesome. I would appreciate it. So before we do the tip of the week, I just want to just truly thank everybody who has either bought the course or is part of the safetyconsultant.us website. So I feel that we're going to grow this community together, and we're also going to learn to craft even better together. So again, I just want to thank you guys for that. All right, the tip of the week is coming from what I learned from Linda, one of the many things I learned from Linda. And one of the things is the time management part. The time management part is really, really tricky, especially when you're first starting out and you're looking at what you used to do as a 9-to-5 with your company. And for some people, they want to start working for themselves with that 9-to-5 mindset, and they'll literally sit down at 9 a.m., break for lunch at noon or 11:30 or whatever, and come back at 12:30 and get started again. I started out that way, and I truly was trying to keep a consistency that I was familiar with, that I was used to, but it's not organic enough for someone who's doing their own business. So for instance, if you're a caretaker, or if you're, have kids or whatever, and especially if they're young kids, you can't do a 9-to-5 when you're supposed to be taking care of the kids. So part of the things that you could do for your business is go ahead and free your mind, free yourself to do time management that works for you. Some people, I remember for me, I get more creative in the morning. So I really didn't mind waking up in the morning and When I was in the house, we would go to, I would basically go into the front room or something and the porch and start working out there. In the RV, it's a little different. When you're in an RV, you move, everyone feels it. If you're not really, light on your feet, then, it kind of creaks and moves, kind of like a boat would. So I would go into the front area, sit on the kitchen table there. I wouldn't record because my wife would be sleeping, but I would do whatever I needed to do work-wise there because I was just more creative in the morning. Linda mentioned that she had an outside desk, a standing desk, which is awesome. So again, time management can also include, location-wise too. If you truly feel you have better work out in the field, then go do something out in the field and do your work over there. If you want to go out and be in touch with nature, or swing in your hammock. Now that might be more dangerous because you're going to end up falling asleep. Not that one. Don't do that one unless you feel like really creative after you wake up, right? But however you do it. And sometimes some people are, they're charged at night. That's their time for creativity. So I would say go with the flow of your body, go with the flow of the time, go with the flow of the day, and make that your working schedule. That's how you're going to work your time management. So truly, time management is a key in this business. It's something you're going to have to do. If you're on a deadline, I certainly have deadlines in my subject matter expert work whenever I'm writing a course for somebody. Then I got to push myself every day and be more regiment with my time. But it's by output as opposed to clock. So I try to give myself a certain amount of output. However, I squeeze that into a time. And in the interview, Linda said that she does, in some cases, she's actually currently writing a book for ASSP, and she needed to have 70,000 words a week for her personal word count. So within that, however she works that out is up to her, so truly you'll have to, figure that as, 10,000 a day for 7 days a week or whatever you're going to do. So for you, work out your time management however you can and make it flow easily for yourself. On another note, this isn't a tip of the week, but this is just something I'm throwing in. I don't know if Linda could say it or not, but during the interview, I really wanted to just, the one thing that stuck out to me was, how much she was volunteering for like everything that she had the opportunity to, and it just panned out for her. I'm I'm a member of the ASSP, so if I ever see her name on anything as far as a vote, I am voting for Linda each and every time. I can't tell you how to do your votes, but by listening to this interview, I would encourage you, just to think really long and hard on that name, Linda Tapp. If you see that on the voting block somewhere, even if it's not at the ASSP, maybe it's with one of her million other things that she does. I don't know how the woman finds the time, but God bless her. I'm glad she is. So, you see that name, go ahead, give her a vote. Every time I see her, yes. My answer for Linda is yes. I'm voting for you no matter what. I'm a fan. So, all right, that's why my 2 cents. I put that in there. Don't kill me, Linda. That's just my 2 cents. All right, so everyone, enjoy your week. Go get them.
This podcast is being sponsored by SafetyConsultantBlueprint.com.
This episode has been powered by Safety FM.